Hello, hello, hello. It is Monday, December 15th, 2025. Welcome to my live stream. It's cold outside. We all know that. And I can tell you, as I've said before, I hate the cold. More than just about any other weather. Warm, windy, whatever. I hate being cold. But we all deal with it. I understand. And I know there's people in other parts of the country that are going through it a lot worse than we are. But we're soft. Here in the South, we've become accustomed to warm weather, hot weather. And when it starts getting cold, we don't function well. Anyway, I'm here. I'm doing the live stream. I've got the heater on in the garage, and I have my other little heater running down here in the corner. Hopefully it's not causing any interference because I'm still getting a little cool air from the front of the garage. You know, I put this insulation on the door, and it really worked well in the summer. But I didn't think about it in the winter. Air blowing around is getting, across the bottom and working its way in. So I just have that little heater as an assistant to the mini split that is going up. And I also cleaned the filters today, so that's going to help as well. As you all know, I've done the front suspension work on the Fangled Fastback, and that video turned out really nice. I did a lot of heavy welding, putting that cross member in, the strut pieces or tower pieces, I guess, that hold the control arms, and really, I'm very happy with how it turned out. I did a video previously on the Brooklyn Pony car years ago, and the it seemed like that one took more effort. Like maybe they've improved their tolerances more than what they had before, or maybe the kit has improved. Whatever. I don't know, but it went really smooth, and I'm pretty happy with it. Now, I do plan. Still have it sitting here on the jig. The plan is to get it off of the jig and start working on the back of it. And I have parts over here set up. I have the frame connectors and the center piece. I don't know what you call that. All that is there, and I have other pieces set aside. Ran into one problem though. When I started putting this together, I had all the instructions. The only instructions I have are for the front. I don't see any instructions for the back. Now, I'm sure I can go online and look up their TCI product. I'm sure they have a PDF or something you can download, but I don't have the rear setup. So, I'll figure it out. Also, I have to deal with those shocks and figuring out the hardware for those. May have to contact TCI and say, hey, send me some more bolts so we get get the shocks set up the way they're supposed to be. But I also know that some of the brackets that are in the kit, I already know they fit better in the back than they did when I did the Brooklyn Pony car. So I'm feeling it's going to go pretty smooth, hopefully, knock on wood, right? Everything's going to go pretty smooth in the back as I put it all together. So looking forward to getting that taken care of. I want to get the car, on the ground. Eventually it'll probably end up on the rotisserie so I can prep the bottom of the car and, take care of all that stuff. But for now I want to get all the hardware taken care of in the middle and the back of the car. And then of course, get some wheels on it eventually and start doing other things. So I also pointed out in that video that the motor mounts, that we have two sets. One came with the TCI kit, and I didn't know that came with the kit. And then we have the other set that was a weld together set that you could configure for your own. And I feel like I'm going to be much further ahead, obviously, to use the one that TCI has developed for their system. So I'm pretty happy with all of that. Let's see. I want to make sure. I'm assuming everything's working fine. You can hear me okay and everything else. Again, I don't suspect that little heater's causing any commotion or problems, but let me know if it is. Okay, if you're new to my live stream, I do this on Monday nights at 7 o'clock, and I talk about cars. Usually from like cars made between 1955 and 1980 is kind of my bracket of time. And for the most part, I, I work on Mustangs, but I also work on just about anything. So if you have a subject you want to talk about or you have a question, I encourage you to bring it up. We'll talk about it. And if I can help with your question or your problem, I will. If I can't, there's people in the chat box over there who are very good at, supporting this. So we try to help each other out, try to get information out there as much as we can. Also, I'm going to talk about the Falcon project that I have named the Feral Falcon. I think that makes sense. A little bit wild, a little untamed, a little different. And I think that's what the name is going to be. And you'll notice I have sitting behind me, this is the engine that came with the car. And that is a Mercruiser 470. It is a 4-cylinder that is half of a Ford 490. And I'm not going to use that. I could put that in the car. It's already set up to go in the car. It actually has a header and everything built for it. I just don't want that. I want a V8 rumble. I want it to, sound and look like a stock car, basically. And so that engine is going to get sold. I posted it on Facebook, and I've had some people ask about it. I did discover today, I put the borescope tool that I have down in the cylinders, and of course it is all redone, and it's got Weisco true forged pistons in it, and the cylinder head is Pro Comp, which isn't your super high end product, but it's got a Pro Comp head on it, and I think it's going to make somebody a really cool, thing to put in their vehicle. But for me, I want to keep the Falcon as, like I said, sort of a stock car. And I'm going to show some more pictures as we go through this tonight and show you what's going on with the car itself. So it was Friday. Roger and I teamed up, went to get the car, and got it back here, and we rearranged everything in the shop so that we could get to the lift, because the car had no rear axle under it, no way to, there was no springs or anything. So we got the car up on the lift, and then we tried to use the body cart. Now, we learned a lesson. The body cart, I had used it for the 66 convertible, and it's not an industrial thing. Like, it's meant for the basic body of a car to go on, not something that has a lot more weight to it. So like the Falcon, it's actually pretty heavy because it has the doors on it, the fenders on it, suspension under it. There's additional bars and stuff like that. So we had set the Falcon on that, and we were going to roll it out the door. And that didn't go well. We got it out the door, and I should have known better. The wheels are mounted, they're like in tracks that you just slide in and lock in place. For shipping, they make it easy to put together. And so we did that, pushed it out the door, and the one of the wheels just folded. And so the whole thing was cattywampus. Now what? We've got this thing sitting 2 feet in the air on this defective cart with no means to get it off of the cart or, whatever. So I called up my neighbor across the street. He's got a Bobcat. I said, hey, I need your Bobcat right now. So he came over and got the Bobcat hooked to the front so that it didn't fall over. But then we had to figure out what we're going to do in the back, because there's no leaf springs. There's really nothing there at all. I mean, the old mounts were there in the back, but the fronts you couldn't use them. So we got creative. I'm going to show you some pictures of it in a minute. Laying outside, I had a 4-lug Mustang rear end, which is what this car would have had more than likely, is a 4-lug style rear end. And the width is the same, or similar to the Mustang, the Falcon and the Mustang. So we got creative and took the some square tubing that was actually part of the rotisserie. There were holes in it, so we used the holes that were in the end of the pipe, square tubing, and I had shackles left over from another project, some extended shackles. Put those under the back of the car, put them in the rear mounts, put the pipe in, and then basically we just welded those pieces of square tubing to the underside or where the mount was. So then we took the rear end and flipped it over so we could clamp it to these pieces of square tubing. So basically here, I'll show you this real quick. So this is what the car looks like right now. So it's got the forelug, and if you look from underneath, if you can see this in the back, you can see the shackle is attached to this piece of square tubing. And then the front of it is welded to the forward mount because you couldn't put a bolt through there because the guy has added reinforcements. So basically it's it's sitting up really high, and but we were able to roll it out and get it out the door or get it up to the garage. So it's ready to go. I'm going to talk about that more in just a minute, but I thought I'd share those pictures with you so you could see what was going on. So let's see who's here tonight. And first in is Richard. Good evening, Barry. Can't wait to talk about the Feral Falcon. Yes, that's the name I'm really confident with. It is kind of feral. Rick Gain, I need some cheering up. I'm not happy. There's snow on the ground in New Jersey. Everybody hit the like and thumbs up button. Yes, Rick, by all means do that. And I don't know if he's listening tonight, but I want to give a shout out to Hugh Phillips, Unapologetic American. I know he's a little under the weather right now, and so I just wanted to let you know, Hugh, I'm thinking about you, and hope you get feeling better very soon. Rick Stevenson, good evening, everyone. Evening, Rick. That's suitable for coffee. Excellent. Vincent, good evening, everyone. Can't wait to see what you do with your Falcon. By the way, how is your mom doing? Thank you, Vincent. Mom's doing pretty well. When I visited her a few weeks back, it was scary. I mean, it was scary. Her eyes were yellow, her skin was yellow, and it looked like she could die in the next day. I mean, it was really, really bad. She was, semi-functional and wasn't remembering things, wasn't understanding things. It was really scary. Since that time, they've done some work on her. They have put in a stent so that her liver will drain. I guess it drains into the bladder, is what I understand. So these toxins are leaving her body now, and so she is now back to, we'll say, normal as far as things go. She still has cancer. That's going to eventually take her. We know that, but she's doing much better at this point, and we're still doing what we can to manage everything going on with her. So thank you for asking, and she is doing very good at this moment. So Terry Keithley, good evening, Barry. Everyone in Barry, please hit the thumbs up and like button. Thank you kindly, Terry, Betty, and the cats. Thank you, sir. I hope Betty is doing well. TJ, good evening, Barry and everyone. It's cold here in East Dublin, Georgia. The Falcon, aka Mangled, that's my vote on its name. Always looking forward to the build, Barry. Yeah, I just couldn't go with Mangled. Because we've already got Fangled, and this doesn't feel right jumping onto that. So, but I think Feral is the way to go. Thank you for being here. Jerry is checking in from the Money Pit. Good evening to all from a cold Middle Tennessee. Thumbs up for Barry. Thank you, Jerry. Yeah, I know we've got this cold snap going through right now, and it's never fun. Dave Tyson, good evening all. Evening, Dave. welcome. Rusty's Restoration, hello all, and Barry, enjoyed your last video. Great work as always. Everyone give a thumbs up. Yes. Thank you, Rusty. Steve Reed, hello Barry and everyone. Hope everyone is staying warm. It's been 11 degrees the last few days, and please everyone give Barry a thumbs up. Yes. Yeah, 11 degrees. Yeah. We were in the low 20s here, and then with the wind and everything, yeah, just not good. Not good at all. Robert, the Infernal Craftsman, evening all, going to be almost 80 on Saturday. You may think that's great, but if this is winter, just imagine how hot summer is. Yeah. Yeah. Now, I will say this. Yesterday, I think it was yesterday, wasn't it? Or the day before? It was the day before. We had temperatures, it was like in 71, 72 degrees. And then it just dropped and got ugly really quick. Roger, greetings from next door. Greetings, Raj. Troy, just good evening from coastal Georgia, where it's colder than a witch's, let's say, ice cream cone. Let the chat begin. Travis Holtman, evening all. Good evening, Travis. Glad you're here. Hope all is well. Nandu, good evening, Barry and everyone. Hope you're doing well. Thank you, Nandu. Likewise. David, Bowler Hat Guy, welcome. Hello, Barry. Hello, all. Good evening, Barry. Good evening, sir. And Nandu says, I like the Falcon. Looking forward to see what you do with it. Yes. You know, and that's the thing. As I've expressed before, like, this is kind of the look it's going to be. Kind of. But in a much rougher sense. So, I've taken some other pictures. This was... Roger and I set the tires and wheels from Jade up underneath the car. And the thing is, the back, it's nice, and the front is nice, but there's going to be some conflict with the width of the tires. And I know the guy had planned to put some like NASCAR style wheels on this thing, which is what these are right here. And that does look cool. Don't get me wrong. I really do like the way that looks. However, it's going to be difficult to pull that off with the front fender. Because these things had little wheels on them, little tires and wheels. And so there's going to have to be some massaging that's going to have to take place underneath this. Now, since we're back at it, I'm going to show you these pictures as well. This is the front of the car. And that is a CPP suspension system under it with coilover shocks, disc brakes. You can see that there's a steering arm, and the guy who was working on this, he made that steering arm as an extension to get under the engine, because the steering is in the back, and with the engine configuration he was working on, there was no way around it. So that's the way it's probably going to end up being, or something similar to that, unless I decide to put in like a rack and pinion system or something. The steering on this is like, has that slow ratio box. It's like 300-1. So when you're trying to turn, you're like swatting flies to make a turn. So there's going to have to be an upgrade of the steering box in one way or another. And of course this has the steering column / steering box. I'm not a fan of that. So there's going to have to probably some sort of upgrade or change to make this work better. So going back under the car, there's 2x2 square tubing frame connectors running underneath the car, front to rear. And there's also a 4-link mount on that frame connector. And there's another one, I think it's on the side. And that's, yeah, we're back to that picture. So, yeah, you can see the 4-link mount there. So, this car already has the bars built for the 4-link. It has, I think there's a panhard bar with it. and I think there's mounts that are ready to go get attached to a housing, so that's going to be taken care of. And I think ultimately I'm going to put a new floor pan in it. I started looking it over and I realized it's not my standard, and I mean that in a way that there's already patches on this floor pan, and if I'm going to be building up, like putting in a roll bar and all that stuff, I want it to have some structure. I want it to have some meat. I want it to have, be solid. So it's worth it for me to swap out the floor pan. I'm going to have to redo or go back around the frame connectors. Unfortunately, I'm not taking those out. That's going to stay. But I'll probably I'm thinking at this point, unless I find some variable, that I'll buy the one-piece floor pan and try to put it in. But I have to look at things harder first. I mean, I already know a lot of it is screwed up, but that'll come later, when I start really looking at the car and digging into it and figure out what route I want to take. So what I'm considering that I will need going forward is likely a floor pan, some sort of steering upgrade. I think this thing I think it already has a master cylinder, brake booster, other pieces and parts ready to go. Like, I'm not worried about a back seat. I'll rebuild the wheelhouses and stuff like that. Anyway, there's a lot to do, but it'll be an interesting project moving forward. Jiggy, good evening, all. Barry, I share your disdain for Georgia cold. Hugging a space heater in the shop tonight. Yeah, and people, we all adapt to where we're from. Like, I grew up in Pennsylvania, and when it was cold up there, I'd be out in a sweatshirt and t-shirt and gloves, but we didn't think much of it. But you live in Georgia for almost 40 years now, and you get adapted to the heat. And then when you get hit with the cold, it's not the same anymore. It's just not. Art Man, hello from Minnesota. Feels like spring today, 27 and sunny. Well, that's about what the temperature I think was here today. Somewhere around there. High 20s, low 30s. So that is a nice spring day for you. Bob Shoemaker, evening all from Oklahoma, where everything is okay. Clark says, excellent work. Project complete. I don't know which project, but part of the projects, yes. Like the front welding is complete on the Fangled car. So yeah. And he says hello. Hello, Clark. I'll give you an extra bell if I didn't already. David, the Bullheart guy. I like the name for the Falcon. Do you have plans for an engine to put in it? Yes. I have two engines to choose from at this point, and I've got a Chevy 350 that I've had sitting in the back of the shop for almost 30 years now. Literally. It's got a Performer RPM Edelbrock kit in it, and I used it as a tow. I was using it in a truck that I had when we towed the race car. So it is sitting. It's been sitting, and it doesn't need to sit there anymore. I also have an LS 5.3 that I could put in it, but I like the simplicity of the 350. Now, I know everybody says, why not put a Ford engine in it? Well, I don't have one. I don't have one that's complete. I don't have one that's ready to go. I've got a few blocks sitting around. I've got a damaged 289, but I don't want to do that. I want to just make it. I'm trying to build this car, let's say, on a budget. So, like, the closer I can stay to zero, the happier I'm going to be. And what I mean to all that is, like, I'm going to sell this engine and other pieces, whatever I can, and try to break even or come out ahead with what I have tied up in the car so far. And then play with the numbers from there and see what I can do. So, like, I've got that 350. The car came with a 2-speed Power Glide. It's already rebuilt. Just use that. I've got a TH350 if I need it. I've got aluminum radiator that was in the stock car. That Curry 9-inch rear end, unless I come up with something else. So I have all these pieces and parts just laying around that are going to become part of this car, and I'm 99% sure it's going to have the 350 in it. Yeah, it's going to have a Chevy engine. It is what it is. MXJ, hey Joe Daddy, awesome that you're live. I watch all your videos. Let's get after the Falcon. Yeah, I will. The Mustang comes first. The 68 Mustang comes first. And he says, let's get after the Falcon. Okay. Richard, do you have to redo any of the welding under the Falcon? Redo? Not really. The guy is an excellent welder. I mean, he's done some really nice stuff. There's some things that I'll probably do my way just because. Like that one, the 4-link mount that's there, I may add some extra bracing to that just because. That's how I do things. But everything else, like he built the frame connectors, and those things look nice. I mean, they're not just, he actually angled them to make them fit the way they're supposed to. I was really impressed by that. So yeah, overall, I don't think I have to redo anything that he's done. MXJ coming here from Los Angeles, 75 degrees with the wind chill. Ooh, yeah, that sounds terrible. Julian, this morning in Southwest Ohio, 3 degrees, difficult to heat the shop. Yes. Yeah, that is, I'm using that mini split, and it's got to be above, like 30 for it to really do its job. Gerhard, good evening, Barry and gang. Good evening, sir. I appreciate the invitation to come visit you up north in the Great White North. I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to be there. Rick Gain looking to sell the original 289 and C4 date coded for a 65 that was original to the Mustang. 112,000 miles pulled, and it ran. If anybody's interested, not quite sure on asking price. There you go. 289 for 65. I'm sure somebody should be interested in that. And Rick says, did the Falcon ever have a rear axle in it with this guy? Why did he remove it? Any idea? Yeah, it did, actually. It had the factory, it started with a factory 8-inch, from what I understand. Or, I'll just say that. It had an 8-inch in it. I don't know if it was a factory one or if it was another one. But it had an 8-inch in it. And the guy who was the owner of the car decided he was going to take it somewhere and have somebody go through the differential, put new seals in it and bearings and, do a bunch of work to it. So he took it away from the shop and it never came back. And unfortunately, the guy died. He passed away. The owner of the car passed away. And so we don't even know where it went. We don't know who has it. We don't have any idea. But he had planned to put this 8-inch in it. And so whenever it's been sitting at this guy's shop probably almost 2 years with nobody doing anything to it because the owner passed away. And he had invested a good bit of money in this thing with his engine and all, but none of his family were able to, they had no interest in it. They weren't going to try to finish it. And so it was just kind of almost semi-abandoned for a period of time until the family decided to sell it. And that's when I got it. So right now, I've had some thoughts. I've got the Curry 9-inch rear end housing and differential, and I've got everything put that in. But I almost wish that I still had the rear end out of Jade because that was a factory narrow rear end. And I sold that. You know how it is. You sell it thinking, I'm never going to want this. I don't have anything to put it in. And then you buy something that it would fit in. So I don't know. I may end up just using that Curry rear end. Mr. Mikey, big howdy to all you wrench turners. Welcome, sir. Glad you're here. Julian says, cut the wheel openings and lengthen it about 4 inches, and I think your tires will fit. Well, I will do some experimenting. Odds are I want to put some flares like it's on this car. And they've got some meats under that thing. You can see the back ones are wider. So they had to do something to make that clear in the front. But I'm going to be looking probably at some sort of, flares. They sell flares on Amazon. So you can but you have to, do the math and figure out which ones you need. But that's probably where I'm going to end up. David says 350 is greater than the LS. In my mind, yes. I know the LS is it's a go-to engine. Everybody's doing it. But I just, like I said, I've got this 350. And ideally, if this is a long time in the future, I had considered for the longest time putting the LS in the Camaro. If I was going to finish that car, that's where that was going to end up. So I don't have any reason to let this 350 sit here anymore. And I've already accumulated a couple goodies for that as well. So it'll be coming together. Artman says Frankenferal. No, I can't do that. Rusty says, I understand wanting to redo the floors on the Falcon. My 68 that was built for a drag car has floor patches that are rough. Also a flat firewall that I'm replacing as well. A lot of work. Yes. Yeah, and I looked at the passenger side footwell, and you can just see where you can look from underneath and see that they just put a piece of tin there, and then they covered it up with like tar. It's brush strokes in whatever they used. And then there's other places where it's just, you could see through the floor and it's rusted out. The difficulty is they don't sell, well, they do sell a one-piece floor. They're not cheap. But they sell patch panels, but those aren't cheap either. You're almost at the same price buying the full floor as you are buying the patch panels. So, if I can figure out a way to get, shipping is probably what's going to hurt worse if I do a full floor, but I'll figure something out with that. Robert says, I like the LS and the idea to put one in the El Camino, but it's still somewhat of a pain to do an LS. Way easier now with all the parts, but you need a lot of custom parts to do it. Yeah, and it wouldn't be overly difficult to put it in this Falcon. Others people have done it. But the simplicity of the 350, I can build a cross member and have it in place in no time. It's just so easy to work with. And it's a basic engine. No electronics, nothing crazy to work with. So Vincent says, I think maybe Falkenstein or Falkenstein. I think it's going to be Feral Falcon. So Travis is saying, Rick, email me. I need an engine. I can hook you all up. So I already have both your emails. I'll create an email to both of you, and y'all can I'm doing it right now. There you go. Sent. So you can work that out. Gerhard says, very disappointed. Maybe I should visit you then. Oh, you come on down. Come on down. You're welcome to come by. Artman, I lost a 53 flathead. I sent a guy for a rebuild. I think it went up his nose. Honestly, oh man, that's not good. Rusty, the same guy did my floors. Tar, yeah, yeah, and you know, I mean, I'm probably not going to be like doing any crazy serious racing with this thing, but it needs to have floors. It needs to be. I need to have a solid foundation. Um, I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna play around with that stuff. Rick says to help the budget, fix the floor with license plates and self-tapping screws. Yeah, yeah, that would be the cheap way out. You're right. Rick says Buff Garage on YouTube already has a Falconstein. Huh. Yeah, like I said, I'm going to stay with Feral Falcon. That'll be mine. All right, you're welcome, Travis. Yeah, hopefully maybe you can work something out. Um, you know, if not, I might have some connection somewhere. Maybe. We'll find out. Harvey, Raleigh Cat Garage, hello Barry from snow-covered New Jersey. Welcome, Harvey. And you can keep all that snow. I don't want any of it ever. I don't need it. Not in Georgia. You know, and this is kind of off subject here a little bit, but it's something I never really realized. I have a friend who is an air traffic controller. So we all know during the government shutdown, you know, some of those guys worked, some didn't, you know, whatever. But I was talking to my friend last night about his role in that, and he was explaining things to me and how they worked. And one of the things we talked about was also like power supplies. We just kind of got on this conversation of power supplies. And the air traffic control system, or where he works, has a power, you know, connected to the power grid. And if it goes down, they have generators to keep it powered up. But I didn't realize this, and this only comes to mind because of thinking about the snow and the weather conditions. They have a second backup system, and I was kind of surprised, not surprised, but surprised, that the second backup system they have is 2 diesel train locomotives. Okay? I never thought about this, but you know, the trains are powered electrically. The diesels generate electricity, and that's what makes them move. But apparently the air traffic controllers have these, at least at their location, 2 diesel locomotives that power up to back up the backup. So if they lose power and the gas generators fail, they have these diesel train generators to keep everything running and keep it going. And I was just kind of surprised that, you know, you think about the weather conditions and the cold, and personally, you know, like I have my own generator and stuff like that, but like that is something that we take for granted, you know, the air traffic control system, and that's something that you can't let it fail. You have to have power for these things to operate. So just thinking about the cold weather, and it just came to my mind that we were discussing that last night. So now you know. A little trivia for you. Anyway, so the whole Falcon situation, it's going to be an ongoing process, right? So it's not going to be something that's going to happen this week, next month. It is not. The Mustang, that's the first priority, and I want to get all that rear suspension stuff taken care of. Get all that done. And then I think I may have mentioned it in a Patreon video. I don't know if I mentioned it. I might have mentioned it here last week. In the other car I did, we had the pieces powder coated. And that's all well and good. There's nothing wrong with that. But when I had that done, I ended up fighting with some of the stuff to get it together. Like the powder coating went into holes and different things and caused a few problems. Nothing serious, but it was frustrating. But one of the products that I've used in the past, and I may end up doing this to all the suspension parts that will go into this car, is this product. So I've used this before. It's called Steel It. I don't know if I showed this last week or not. It is an anti-corrosive, and it's weldable. And it's supposed to. It says 316L stainless steel is in this. I don't know how that works, but I've used this before, and it's some tough stuff. It's some tough stuff. So I may end up using this on all the under pieces for the Fangled Fastback, and then we'll have to figure out what we're going to do on the bottom as far as a finish, whether it's, it'll be primer and paint, whatever. We'll have to determine how that's going to be done as well. And then, but once I get all that, the bottom section done, it'll be, of course, going up and doing the final, or doing more fitment of the fenders and doors and finishing out the quarter panels, and then moving forward from there. There's a lot of pieces to go in this car, and there's a lot of pieces waiting to go on the car, but I'm looking forward to getting that moving along. So Rick's talking to Travis. Where are you located? I think he's out. I think he's in Utah. Richard, we restored an early Mustang years ago that had a floor made of highway signs and pop rivets. Yeah. The scariest one that I did was a 65 Mustang that belonged to a young man that was working for us at the body shop. Really nice looking car, and he and his dad bought it, and they never really looked at it hard, and they started driving it, and the dad went to put carpet in, or they went to replace the carpet or something, and they were like, "What is this? What's going on with this floor? It doesn't look right." Well, it wasn't right. The people had taken aluminum, and they had used silicone caulking and just coated the floor with it and pushed down these aluminum pieces onto the rusted out pan. And then on the bottom of the car, they did more work to make this thing wrong than they would have if they had fixed it the correct way. They glued those panels down in the footwell areas, and then they went under the car and they took Bondo and they filled in all the rust. Yeah, they filled in all the rust, and they painted, they like undercoated it, so it looked good underneath. I mean, it literally looked like the floor. And so when I got a hold of it, I grabbed those I just pulled them out with my hands. Just started pulling on them, and they came out because rust won't hold on to silicone. And ended up cutting out the floor pans and putting in new pans for that guy's car. But yeah, the people do some really sketchy stuff and hope that nobody ever sees it. Robert, my friend, worked for Lone Star Steel years ago in purchasing, and they had their own railroad. He had to buy a replacement generator armature, and it was made by Lincoln Welders. Interesting. Okay, so yeah, Rick, he's in Utah. He emailed you. Artman, I used to live down the street from MSP Air Traffic Control Center, which is actually a ways from the airport. You knew something was happening when the black Tahoe's ripping through the neighborhood. Oh, okay. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, David, Bondo over us, shaking my head. Yeah. I mean, and we saw that a lot in the body shop. A lot. There was the 169 Camaro that I did there belonged to a good friend of mine. He was my first lead mechanic. I had a Delta. Sharp looking car. Had an 80s paint job on it. Kind of like had the graphic looking thing, I think it was in a magazine at one time. And he asked us to do, wanted us to paint the car a different color. And I started working on it. And I started sanding, and I sanded the paint off, and I thought, well, this isn't primer. It was all Bondo. The whole back of the car was Bondo. Both quarter panels had about 3/8 of an inch of Bondo that was formed. It looked good. I mean, whoever did the body work did a great job. The rear valance on that car had a 1/2 inch of Bondo on it. 1/2 inch. I actually, we cut that piece out, and we had it hanging on the wall. We had a wall at the body shop. It was our wall of shame, and we let pieces hang on the wall that people could see them, and like show them this was part of a Camaro, and this thing weighed like, I don't know what it was, heavy, just a heavy mass in your hand, and it was a 1/2 inch thick. The rear valance, the lower section was all Bondo, and there was a lot of things we'd found like that, and and I'm not giving anybody any credit for what they did, but it was acceptable in the 60s and 70s and even into the 80s for people to just wad up newspaper into rusted cavities and Bondo over that and make the newspaper part of support the mass of Bondo until it dried. Guys would do it all the time, and they would just stack up that Bondo, sand it out, make it look pretty, throw some paint on it. Okay, it's all yours now. It's restored. That's what, and they would say, yeah, restored. Yeah. Should have been a sculptor. Yeah, a lot of these guys that did that kind of work, they were sculptors. I mean, they were artists, because it's one thing to have a designated body line that you can flow from. I've shown videos on it where I've done body work, and there's an eyebrow or a crease, and as long as I have that to start with, I mean, I could probably do it without it, but I'm just saying, once you have that line, now you can build that line out. If you got some minor damage, you can reshape that line. These guys had nothing. They were just eyeballing it and feeling it and making the shape of the car look like a Camaro. And it did. It looked really good. But he was shocked, because whenever I called him up and said, hey, you need to come look at this car. And he had never actually washed the car, never got it wet. He'd always used the Meguiar's One Touch and just wiped it down. That's all he ever did. So he never saw it never developed any rust bubbles, because it never had moisture in it. It never got wet again after it was redone. So but when he saw what I was doing, I said, I got to cut all this car apart. It's bad. And it was. Rick Stevenson, when I took apart my 68 Mustang, I pulled out a wad of Bondo and screen out of the left rear quarter. Yeah, screen, whatever they could come up with. A lot of times it was newspaper. Sometimes it was a window screen, or even like a netting material, widespread stuff that the Bondo would work its way through it. A lot of that junk went on. Richard, I knew a guy years ago, his name as Bondo Bob. He was an artist. Actually, I think I've seen him on like Instagram. I don't know if it's the same guy or not, but there's a guy, I think he goes by Bondo Bob, I think. And he's an artist. He will make you a car out of Bondo. Gerhard, I bought a Chevy Cruze about 4 years ago. This summer, someone bumped into the rear side. I saw cracks instead of dents. After further inspection, I found a 1/2 inch layer of Bondo. Yep. That's the thing. If a car looks right and you've got, a nice shiny paint job on it, most people aren't going to notice it. Most. And a lot of you know I'm hyper sensitive when it comes to body work, or paint finish, that sort of thing. It's torture for me. But like, Roger's been with me. We've been to cruise-ins and car shows and stuff, and I have a hard time looking at cars. I'll walk by and I'm like, oh no, you just missed. You were so close. Like even at SEMA, I talked about this before. Finding, not intentionally looking for flaws, but I'm so in tune with what it's supposed to look like that they just pop out at me, and I can't look away. I can't stop myself. Um, there was in the video that I did for SEMA, I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything. I wanted to. There were two or three white Mustangs that I looked at. I think one was called Frostbite, and it had a pearl paint job on it, and that was okay. It looked okay. There was another one that I videoed before that. I think it was a fastback, or one, it was somewhere in the sequence. Anyway, I knew that they painted the extensions off of the car. I could just know. I could look at it, and I'm thinking, you brought a car to SEMA. It was Wimbledon white too, and Wimbledon white, let me tell you, it's a nice color, but you can't paint them on different days, or you can't expect it to be the same. We painted a car Wimbledon white at the body shop, and one day we did my buddy was doing the paint work. He painted the front of the car. There was this car right here. So that was a 68 fastback drag car that I rebuilt the quarters on. So I did all this work to make the quarters look correct, as it should. And then he painted it, and he painted all the body in the booth one day, and then he went back and painted the doors and fenders the next day, and I think the deck lid and hood or whatever, because he just didn't want to do them all assembled. And we started putting the car together. Nope, not even close. I could tell immediately that it was like two totally different colors. So the body looked great, the doors and fenders looked great, but you put them together, nothing matched. So we reshot that whole car. Had to redo it and make it right. But little details always stand out. Like I said, the quarter extensions. That's why I build the standoffs. When I paint something, I want it to be with it, so it matches. And some guys will actually take that extension and lay it on a table, and then try to paint it, and now the flow of paint is wrong. They're laying it down instead of standing it up, and now it doesn't work. So it just drives me crazy, as you all know. Mr. Mikey, Bondo was sold with nylon screen in the 60s, used it over 56 Chevy headlights. Yep, that was a pretty common thing. The top of those headlights, fenders rusted out on the 55, 6, and 7 cars, so it just made them out of Bondo. Yep. Make it work. Exactly. Art says, don't look at my car. Okay. I try to be nice. I really do. I commend people for doing the work and making it, I want you to work on your cars, obviously. If you do all the work yourself and you paint it yourself, I'm not going to sit back and go, oh, hey, I'm not going to do that. I commend you for what you're doing. If somebody asks me to look at their car, I may tell them, are you sure you want me to look at their car? I'm just being honest. I can't, I'm not going to sugarcoat it if it's, if it's got problems and they ask for my opinion. That's the thing. Careful what you ask for. Troy says the 65 Mustang working on had half inch of body filler on the right rear quarter. It had been hit in the past, and that is how they fixed it. I have pictures of it. Yep. Pretty normal. Hugh is checking in. Says, hey Barry, I'm late. I'm not a body guy or painter, not even going to pretend to be. I get it. And I hope you're doing better, Hugh. Hope you're feeling better. Richard's saying, hey Hugh, hope you feel better soon. Yep. Uh, and he says, all I know is better to take it's best to take it to bare metal for painting. That's all I know. That's right. You better start from nothing if you can. That's a better way to do it. Hughes, thanks Richard. I'm above ground. Got to count the blessings, even the little ones. Yep. Yep. Annette is checking in. Hi everyone. I'm sorry I'm so late. Well, you have to bring donuts when you're late. Have to bring donuts. You know, I'm almost done with my coffee. You got to have some donuts. I love me some donuts. Robert, the bundle kit had a piece of expanded steel with double-sided tape in the cap of the container. Those were up until the early 2000s. Yep. Yeah, I mean that was normal. It was normal for everybody to just pile on the bondo and send it down the road. That's kind of how it was accepted. Art says I didn't do the work. It's 35-year-old paint and body wasn't very good to begin with, and it's showing its age. Looks good from a distance as I drive by. Yeah, and that's in most cases that's all you want. In most cases, that's fine. And I know I torture myself probably more than anyone when it comes to the finish work on paint. One little flaw and I'm ready to redo the whole car. It's just torture. There we go. Chocolate covered. That'll work. That'll work. Thank you, Annette. Yeah, it's rough. Trying to make everything as perfect as you can, and we're all. I mean, I'm guilty of it probably more than anybody, but that's why I'm so interested in doing the Falcon again. Like, I had the 55 Chevy for a long time, and it was a rat rod, and it was intended and meant to be a rat rod. But the thing with that one was it was never something you could take on a trip. Like, it didn't have any carpet in it. It didn't have any heater box. It didn't have windows. It didn't have windshield wipers. There was a lot that it didn't have. It didn't have seats in it. It did not have door panels. No spare. I mean, it was just a rough car, and it was intended to stay that way. So, when I traded that car off, I was okay with it because I knew I could drive it to the summit, whatever, or I could drive it to a local cruise in, but it's not something you'd want to take on a long trip or anywhere. It would not have been that much fun. So the Falcon is kind of going to be I won't say hybrid, but it's going to be something that's a rat rod that's going to have working wipers. It's going to have door panels. It's going to have windows that go up and down. It's going to look like it's supposed to look as far as the main body. But like I said, the cutouts for the wheels is going to be a big thing on it. I'm going to put the chrome back on it. It's got the spears for the front fenders. I hope all the other pieces are there for the side. I'm going to have to probably modify them because of wheel cutouts. These back wheels going through the cutting out the wheel opening, that's where the trim went. So it's going to end up being a split trim. At least at this point, I'm pretty sure I'm going to put the trim back on it. I may not. Maybe I'll just leave it on the door so it's got that rustic look. Not that look. This look. We'll see. But it's going to be something I'll be able to drive around and have some fun with it. So let's see, Richard. I worked at a Mako that would use duct tape over rust holes and pile on the Bondo. I am not surprised, especially Mako. That seems pretty accurate. Annette, I hope you like Boston cream. I love Boston cream. I love Boston cream. Um, in fact, I'll just say this. Well, like if I ever went to Dunkin' Donuts, I would get the powder coated with the chocolate ice filling inside, like the chocolate icing filling. They don't sell them anymore. They quit selling those. And that was my favorite donut from Dunkin' Donuts. So now I always get a Boston cream and a jelly filled, if and when I go. But yeah, Boston cream is a good donut. Jerry says, howdy, Barry. Howdy, all. Sorry I can't stay. I got some passengers that need tending to. Have a great car chat. Thank you, Jerry. Enjoy your trip. Richard says to Annette, thanks for bringing donuts. I wore my bigger pants. Art Man, and it doesn't bother me that my 7-year-old loves the car and touches it and opens the doors and climbs in, occasionally whacks it with a stick. LOL. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to hit it with a stick, but I don't mind people getting in and out of the car and, putting hands on it. Rick says, did the Gasser 55 you worked on years ago ever get done? Nope. In fact, I don't think the guy, since I did the trade on that car and I drove it to his house, I don't know that he's ever started it up since then. I don't think he's done anything to this car. And that was, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, something like that. I think it's just sitting in his garage, just like when I delivered it. I really don't think he's done anything to it at all. But he wanted it, so. Hugh says, my 67 was painted in 82. Only time it was repainted since new. Definitely could use a new paint job, but good enough for who it's for now. Yeah, it's all right. And for now, I just keep using touch-up paint. That's my extent of painting experience. Well, that's fine. Little chips you can touch up. Keeps it nice. Michael says, make it into a wide body. Well, it's sort of going to be like that, I guess. Sort of, kind of. We'll see how these tires play out. Because the rear end that I ended up putting under it, this little forelug, temporarily, doesn't dictate where the wheels will end up. So what I'll have to do is get maybe get the courier end put together so that I can set it underneath there and mount the wheels to it and see if how it's gonna look, how it's gonna play out. But I may end up, I'm gonna put flares on it either way. I'm pretty sure it's gonna have flares. I say have to. I may not have to, but I'm probably gonna want to put flares on it. And laughing, yeah. And we have a Krispy Kreme that's up in the next town north of us. Oh man, chocolate ice cream filled. That's me. That is me all the way. And some of their good coffee, yeah. I hate to say it, I love coffee and donuts. Rick says, I hate that my 65 lives under its cover these days, but life leaves me no choice. Yep. Sorry for that. Maybe one day I'll be able to come up there and we can go for a ride in it. Never know. Hugh, my first car was a 67 Fastback. I sold it 30 years ago. Found out the guy that owns it now is only 20 minutes from me. It's just a shell of new sheet metal now. He will sell it back to me for 25 grand. And he says, is it worth it being my first car? Yeah, it probably is. Yeah, it probably is, to be honest. 67 Fastback, yeah. Roger, can pop the Krispy Kremes like Pez. Yeah. I'm definitely guilty of the Krispy Kreme Give me a dozen. Thanks. I'm not sharing. Yeah. I I have to admit, I eat a lot of sugar. I shouldn't be, but I like sugar. Sugar is good for me. Keeps me going. I tend to operate on sugar, and I know that's bad. That's really bad. Travis, I would. He says I would $5,000 more than what it is worth to get my old 70 back. Talking to Hugh. Yeah. Dave Tyson, I like the flared look. I do too. I mean, I really. And I'll have to debate on that chrome. Because this picture here, I added the 6.7 on the side of it. That was the old stock car number. I don't know if I'm going to put a number on it or not. I might. I'm not. That'll get decided later. Like, the chrome will have to be decided at some point because I don't want to paint this car. Nope. This car is going to look just like that. I'm not painting it. There's a little bit of rust in the quarter panels. I don't even want to fix that. In the bottom of the quarter panels. Because if I fix it, that means I got to find a way to match that paint. And I don't want to do that. MXJ, hey Joe, when you're in LA, come by and ride in my 6.6 Mustang Fastback. I'll let you honk the horn. That sounds inviting. Actually, I'm going to be, I mentioned this last week, I think. I'm going to be in San Diego in February. Now, I don't know exactly where in San Diego. I know it's not like saying you live in this little tiny town or anything. San Diego's a big place. But I'm going to be there for a Mac Tools tool show with a buddy of mine. So we'll be out there a few days. So I may, if I may try to find somebody. If I'm out in San Diego, may see if people are around. You never know. I'll get more into that whenever when that time comes. And that says, great. Now I want a donut. Yeah. Yep. Terry Keithley, I was going to ask Santa to bring me 2 cases of gobs for Christmas. Yeah, there you go. Get some gobs. Gobs are good. Travis says single stage white paint isn't cheap. Yeah, and no paint is cheap right now. No paint is cheap. I've got some leftover black jade. If you want some of that, I'll probably have that much in a 1 gallon can. That's probably about $300 worth of black jade paint that I have sitting right now that I don't know what I'm going to do with. I don't have anything to paint that color. Okay, we're an hour and 10 minutes in, and there's a football game on tonight that I'm going to watch. Yes, I'm a Steelers fan, so we're going to watch the Steelers and probably get some snacks to enjoy while I'm watching the Steelers attempt to win a game. So I'm going to call it a night. I do plan to be back next week, again at 7 o'clock. I'm debating on what I'm going to do for this week's video. I know that people want to see the Cobra Jet, arriving in Florida. So I may end up doing, I may try to make the video together for the Cobra Jet and put that out. Or it may be that I'm working towards the rear suspension. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But that'll be it for tonight. So at this point, I want to say come back next week. And until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.